Lindenhurst is a village of 27,000 on the south shore of Long Island, New York. These are the people who grew up there and their stories. Everyone I know is from Lindenhurst.
I put a blanket on my floor to make it less echoey. Does that help? I don't know. How does the sound quality sound?
It's fine.
You got to pick it up for us to know the difference, but you can leave it on the floor.
Imagine it sounds like she's in a cave if she takes it off the floor.
Well, it does sometimes. Like it's this room's a little weird. It's like a garage conversion. It's got high ceilings and it's really narrow.
Yeah.
What's that?
So is this one. But you've
been there.
All right.
The garage conversion revolution.
Yeah. It's Long Island for you. Got to make more rooms.
Who needs a car hole?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. If I look back at my life, I don't think that I've ever lived in a house where a garage had a car parked in it. You know, It's just like a junk draw.
Unless you're like a person who works on their car, like it's generally used just to store things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I'm being 100% honest, my dad does keep like a 1992 Mazda. What's the one that's their like sports car? Miata. Yeah.
Miata? Yeah.
Yeah, he keeps the Miata in there with like some old paint cans.
Okay.
Nice.
So for those listening,
car now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, have we started? Is this how we're?
Yeah, we're just jumping right in. So for those listening, this is actually a do-over. We all got together in person and recorded, but due to some unfortunate technical difficulties that couldn't be fixed in post, we're here on Zoom. So it's much easier for me to edit.
Yeah, what did it sound like? What was the error?
John's mic was just very noisy, and even when I cut out the noise in between him talking, it was almost like a thunderstorm, like every time he spoke.
The problem might not be the mic. It might be this guy.
Yeah. So anyway, we're back with Beth. Thank you for joining us again.
No, it's all good. We even had, if we're being 100 with your audience, we had some technical troubles tonight too. So it feels a little bit like we're pushing against destiny or something to get together.
John said we're Linden cursed.
Linden cursed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll, in true Lindenhurst bootstrap style, we'll push through and we'll survive.
We are bulldogs, after all.
Yeah. Did you get those emojis I sent earlier today? It was
I didn't see them.
And a dog. They don't have a bulldog emoji.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we have to use a bulldog.
That's what that meant.
I know. Just a series of animals.
Okay. So we're going to do this in the order we normally do this and start with your upbringing and then get into what you're doing nowadays.
Okay.
So yeah, tell us about your family roots in Lindenhurst and what part of town you grew up in.
Okay, so my first elementary school was St. Rose of Lima in Massapequa. Do you know that one that's over on, it's Merrick Road over there?
Yeah.
Sunrise Highway over in Lindenhurst. And it was a Catholic school. And then when my parents got divorced, my mom moved out to Lindenhurst and I moved on to South 13th between Westgates and Kent. And then I went to Westgates Elementary School. And do I just like go school by school? Are there
you could add whatever details you want.
Anecdotes from going to Westgates. Okay, so Westgates, I guess the first thing I would think of is the playground in the back had like a big open, like dried out, what I would say is a kickball field. And then to the side, it probably had a scattering of like 10 trees. And that's where I would, make dances for about 25 minutes. And then we'd go inside at the end. But I think that, I wonder if everybody thinks about where you played recess first when you think about your elementary school. Yeah, is that universal?
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it was like the yard, right? Like where you just kind of wander around. And then when my kids tell me about recess, it has like that kind of same like weird, let's breathe air for 15 minutes and dig a twig out of the dirt kind of energy. So I think that that lives on. And then I don't know. I don't really remember much about Westgate's beyond that. It was, we had our fifth grade dance on a boat out of Captree.
Wow,
Yeah.
fancy.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was, I think, a fishing boat.
Of course it was.
Yeah, it wasn't a party boat. It was like a fishing boat.
It's like
But,
the Queen something.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And like a lady's name.
Right.
And then middle school, the best of times. I had Feigenbaum in sixth grade.
Wow.
And I don't know. I just remembered not ever knowing the right thing to wear. And I had a diary that every once in a while I'll open back up. And I was most of the diary entries are about what I got on tests that week, like math tests. And if I was late for school, at what time I went to bed. So I think that that's where I was that age. And then high school, I think high school I probably is in like two parts, ninth and 10th grade, and then 11th and 12th grade. And
What divides those two parts?
well, alcohol.
Okay.
That'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
And also just I think that you're a young teen in ninth and 10th grade, and then
Right.
you're a different thing
Once
in
this
11th and
once the
12th
Sweet
grade.
16s hit, all bets are off.
Yes, you start kind of passing Bud Lights under the table. The people I was
Uh-huh.
definitely one of the first I was getting in trouble with people's uncles who saw me. Like I was part of that early wave of being rebellious for sure.
Yeah.
Down at the Chateau Le Maire, one of the like 5 places everybody had their Sweet 16s. And yeah, I mean, I thought that high school was fun. It was a lot of things. It was, great and awful. And like, and we talked about this before, like last time I was on the podcast, but I had some serious anxiety issues senior year. And I was sure I was the only one. Like, I was convinced everybody else had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And now that I've gotten older and I look back and you talk to people, like everybody struggled their entire lives. And I don't know what it was
Absolutely.
about, right? Like
Yeah.
people are struggling now. People are struggling, especially in your teen years. But for sure at the time, I thought that everybody else had it all together.
Yeah, I mentioned this last time we spoke, but just doing this podcast and speaking to people from the past and people who I played music with and hung out with, and I was anxious because, I would think, oh, are they holding a grudge about this thing, or, do they still have feelings about this situation that happened? And either they remember it completely differently or they don't remember it at all.
Yeah. Like how little you matter to other people is really something that we have to keep a little bit more top of mind.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's something that I kind of aspire to keep. So I'm, living much more publicly with these posts that I'm doing, and it's really uncomfortable to put yourself out to a faceless audience and out into the world. And especially, I'm doing this like slow form content that's talking about feelings, and it's and there's a lot of vulnerability in it, and I don't know what I'm coming on between. So that's a weird feeling too. Like, am I coming on after a rock band and I'm saying, hey, everybody, what do you think about?
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Like there's a weirdness
Or
to
like
that.
an animal blooper video or
Yeah,
something.
like I'm coming in, the context that I'm coming into could be super awkward, like extra awkward.
Yeah.
I'll
And
let you know that today you came on after an ED medication ad. One of those ones.
Perfect.
One of those ones where it's like a fake podcast where the guy's like, last week I had a big problem. And then the next guy's like, tell me about, that kind of thing.
I like that
knows,
though.
wow.
That actually, I feel that feels at home to me. Like there's some vulnerability in there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah. So if you think that you really matter and that people are going to be thinking about you all day after they see your thing, it can be a little crippling. So I have to remind myself, most people are just going to see it for a second. They might be saying like, oh, what's Beth doing? Like that's a thing. And then they'll like swipe off and they'll go have their lunch or something like that. But that's a really good, it's liberating to think like that, to think that I don't matter at all to people.
People are very occupied with themselves. So
Right.
there's a comfort in that, you know.
Yeah. Well, and also it's like what their story of me when they see me is more of the story of themselves than it is me at all. So it's how do they want to feel superior to me? That's their story. Do they want to feel, like connected to me? Then that's their story too. But all I can do is show up with my bit of it,
Right.
and I can't. And that's actually this like the best part of doing this is I've kind of been liberated from that um, sensation that I have to connect to another human being. That doesn't sound right, but it's like I think that we think about connecting as reaching somebody in the way that they need to be reached. But when you just speak to your phone and you're just putting your thought into a minute and a half and you don't see any other faces, it's just yours. It's not the synthesis of a conversation. It's just your thing. And then it's super public. So you do that enough times and you can access that in conversation. You feel kind of liberated from this context of is it good enough? Like is the last thing I said good enough? Do you like me? Like all that is the volume on
Yeah.
that part of my inner dialogue has gone way down. So that's good. So
Yeah.
if anybody's struggling with that, I recommend you just put a minute of thought out into the world twice a week, and it'll resolve.
So now, family wise, I know you have a
Mm.
younger brother who I was in marching band with.
Yeah, I've spoken to him after our first interview
Oh, you
about this
did?
interview.
Okay.
He was very happy to hear that I had spoken to you.
And
Warm
twice
feelings.
now.
Yeah.
He should be double happy. But so remind me of what other siblings you have and what your parents did for a living growing up.
Okay. So I have an older sister, Jean, and she went to St. John's as a high school. She went to Lindenhurst as a middle school. Um, and my mom was an art teacher, an elementary school art teacher, and my dad was a painting contractor, so a house painter. And he lived in Massapequa, so I would spend Sundays in Massapequa. So I was a little bit dual citizenship,
Mm.
Suffolk, Nassau.
Yeah, you're bi-coastal.
I mean, it used to be two area codes, so there's that.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so moving on, I know you went to college in Pennsylvania, outside of Philly.
I did. I went to a women's college that has now been absorbed into Villanova called Rosemont College. And it had a graduating class of about 100. And it had classes that were like 5 to 10 girls or young women. So it was very like the style of the school was very intimate conversations about critical thinking. Yeah, I mean, it was a
Mm.
great school. It was a great experience. It was quiet. It wasn't the same as probably going to, like a SUNY school or something. It was
Yeah.
radically different, but it was really good for me at the time.
Yeah, that's part of what turned me off of to going away to college. But I didn't realize that you could just go to some small private college and it would be a totally different experience.
What, you didn't like the idea of a big SUNY school?
At the time, just going away to college, living at school wasn't my idea of a good time when I was 18.
Hmm. I mean, I could wonder, like, what was the thing that bothered you about it?
Uh, Nothing. I was just involved here with playing in bands and whatever else I
Hmm.
was doing. So
So you
I
had
just
like a
didn't.
whole universe here.
Yeah.
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 I don't know how much to ask you. You say
I,
something and I want to know more about
I
it, but
know.
I also don't want
This is
this
your
to be
interview.
like you I'm trying to figure out what you
I'll come on your
experienced
future podcast and we
curiosity.
can talk all about it.
Like I do want to know, but
Yeah. I mean, these are things I'm just thinking out loud about, but kind of to prompt more discussion.
yeah.
But yeah, what was it like going from, I mean, so 100 students in one class, that's like a fifth of a Lindenhurst high school class.
Yeah. You know what
So,
was funny? When I went there, I took my yearbook, and do you remember on the inside of the yearbook? I don't know if every yearbook has this. We were in different graduating years, but there was an aerial shot of the high school with the houses around it. And all of the girls who went to that school, almost all of them were from like the mid-Atlantic area. So Maryland, the suburbs of Philadelphia, um, Delaware. And first of all, that the culture shock of that definitely took me a little while to turn the volume down on the way that I spoke and slow down in the way that like I definitely was aware of that really early on that I was abrasive just because of the Long Island rhythm of like or the sarcasm like all of that was not working and
Yeah.
I had to adjust. But then I remember having the yearbook open and they looked at the first page where that and then they said, "Look at how close the houses are to each other."
Yeah.
Like
Oh
they
yeah.
were confused by it, by how there weren't yards around them, like that the houses were really, really tight. And I never thought of I always thought of Lyndhurst as a suburban community. I didn't think of it as dense. But I think that compared to a lot of America, the South Shore of Long Island particularly is like an urban area. It feels a little urban to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like you mentioned, you don't realize until you go to other parts of the country, like how the abruptness of the Long Island personality, like
Yeah.
how it hits people
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah. Like you have to be a little bit gentle with them.
yeah.
They'll know you're from New York without you telling them, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I had a friend who
Yeah.
came from Pennsylvania. She came from my wedding shower. And I won't name names, but a friend of mine, they were playing cornhole, and my friend kept like ripping her every time she would throw the cornhole sack. And my
Yeah.
friend from Pennsylvania was like near tears. She's like, I don't know why she hates me so
Mm.
much. I was like, no, she likes you.
That means she likes you. Yeah.
She's being friendly. She's trying to
Yeah.
include you. There's just, missing each other.
Okay. Moving on into adulthood. I know you had a long career in art and graphic design.
Hmm. Okay, so when I got out of college, I had a BFA in graphic design. And like I said, my dad was a house painter. And I first started painting, like right out of school to make money. I was his assistant. So I was painting houses with him. I was doing some murals in nurseries that I could charge a little bit more for, and I would go on my own. But it was a lot of cutting in and rolling out and up and down ladders and shaking out drop cloths. And I was doing a lot of that for a couple of months. And he had a job where he would always talk about his kids to his clients. If you're a contractor, you go into people's homes and you're there all day with them, and they'll offer you lunch, a cup of coffee or something like that, and you end up getting these little nuggets of their life. And then he would share about us. And he said, my daughter just graduated college with a graphic design degree, and she said, "Oh, I work at Cablevision. I'll print out any jobs on the internal job board." This was before the internet was a whole thing for finding. I remember applying
Right.
to jobs through faxing things, and I saw, the New York Times would have a
Mm.
listing, and I would fax in my resume. So she printed out two internal job postings, and I applied to both of them, and I got one of them, and that kicked off a
Was
whole.
this like Rainbow Media?
This was Rainbow Media. Do you remember What do you
Okay.
remember of Rainbow Media?
I knew a few people that worked there,
Yeah.
and I just knew that that was like the Cablevision like graphics division or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So Rainbow Media owned AMC, IFC, Fuse, the music
Yeah.
channel, and it had a really small internal design department of like 10 people or something like that. And we did we would do IFC Films movie posters. When the IFC Center opened up, we pitched in on the rebrand. It was a great first job. We rebranded while we were there. I worked on that. It was only 2 years, but it had that similar thing that high school has where it can be a short amount of time and feel really epic. So it
Uh-huh.
was 2 years, and then they dissolved the department. And after that, I moved to a boutique advertising agency. And when I was there, I was there for 2 years. I was there during the crash. Do you remember the economic collapse of
Mm.
2008 or something?
Yeah.
2009.
The
Yeah.
housing bubble.
Hmm.
Yeah, 2009. And I was going in on, I remember going into my job on the LIRR and passing a stack of newspapers, and the one on the top, like every day it would get worse. Like first it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there's, foreclosures in Florida. And then the next day it would be like,
Yeah.
stock market down 10%. And then the next day it would just be like
Hmm.
full panic. And I would just pass the
Uh-huh.
stack of newspapers every day. I'm just really grateful to have a job. But then once that moment ended, I realized that I wanted to do my own thing. And me and Mike, my husband, ended up starting our own advertising, our own graphic design firm. And we've done, a lot of good work. And that's probably been like 12 years or something that we've been doing that, or 15 years or something. And that brings us to the current
Okay.
switcheroo.
So are you still doing any of that stuff freelance, or is it
I
totally
am. I'm taking
total
on
pivot?
freelance jobs, but honestly, as I've been doing this work and I've been digging into it, there's there's a couple of things that are happening at the same time. One, it feels like AI and also the way that media is advertised is changing the industry completely.
Yeah.
So it's less about when I first started, you would get a week to do a movie poster and you would immerse yourself, or 2 weeks, you would like immerse yourself in the movie. You'd be trying different things. You'd be scanning textures and ripped paper. You would have internal reviews. Everybody would be trying to reach for excellence in art. And over time, it just became how many different resizes can you get out in a half a day? Like it, because of there's so much more media that's being pushed across so many different platforms, it's more about churn than it is about the craft of it anymore. And I'm
Yeah.
seeing a lot of graphic designers or a lot of people who got into this type of work where it's like business and art overlapping are feeling a bit hollowed out. And when the creativity comes out of it, you can sense that you are a half step away from being replaced from AI. When it
Yeah.
becomes just you're repurposing something into 15 different sizes, you're not getting fed um, that like reward that you're looking for in a creative job. And you're also just like, I think you don't feel what you're bringing to it. It feels automated.
Like, why do you need a person for that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just
And I think that a lot of different industries are, especially in like traditionally white collar jobs, are starting to feel that there's this apex of everybody's trying to do everything cheaper and faster that's happening at the same time that you're getting the ability for a program to do it. And it doesn't feel sustainable, really. And I don't think that that's okay. So I'm trying to look, I don't want that to sound scary. I'm trying, I think that the solution to this moment is to have more long term view. So I don't actually think that we're headed in a bad direction if we look far enough down the road. I think that there's probably a 5 year, 10 year, possibly 15 years of like transition time that's going to be tumultuous. And it's not just about AI, it's about a lot of different things. Like it feels transitional in a lot of different categories right now. But if we're speaking specifically about I think that you can look at it like if you can automate a lot of the systems that get our needs met as human beings, and you can find a way to redistribute wealth so that everybody's needs are met. Like everybody's getting enough food, everybody's getting health insurance, everybody's getting their baseline of survival and, like beyond survival, just thriving enough. I think Lindenhurst is a really great example of like you can get to this point of stability and you can be happy, right? Like the neighborhood I live in now has a lot of highs and lows. There's a lot of, really wealthy people, and then there are people who are living in an apartment, above a garage. Like the wealth divide is so big that you start to think about money as reflecting success, some kind of achievement. But what's really great about Lyndhurst is everybody's kind of around that same zone
yeah.
of having
Yeah.
enough and still like you don't, the money to who am I thing is the volume is much lower on it, and people are exploring their passions and their creativity, and they're spending time with their family and really enjoying it. They're having great block parties. You don't get as many great block parties in this. Like the more money you make, your block parties are worse. The food isn't as good either. So I don't know. All that to say, we can get all of the country to this place of feeling safe, having their needs met and feeling safe. And we can do that through, let's say, wealth redistribution. I don't want to scare anybody, but I really think that that's the only way to do it, right? Because we're having these like, if you're automating and automating, all the money funnels up to the CEO because you're taking out all of those middle jobs. What does that, the sun's still going to rise every day. You know, we're still going to be humans. The human story continues. So what are the next chapters look like? What's the next questions that we're going to come up with? How do we build a fulfilling life? And I think that it really does free up people to explore all the things that AI can't do. Like the job that I was doing, absolutely AI could do. Like resize Coke ads for, you know, a streaming platform or something like that. But the job that I'm doing now, where I'm full of questions, I'm full of trying to connect, I'm trying to solve the problems that technology is missing. It's like AI will never be able to bring what the human element is. AI is an amplifying tool. It's not a creation tool. Right? So I think that there's this whole, I think what we're going through right now is similar to when the Industrial Revolution, when people were farmers and then they all moved into the city. And there was like a lot of churn at that time. That was also kind of overlapped with the Great Depression. Like there was like these, you know, things that people's identities had to reform and their skills had to reform and all that kind of stuff. But it ushered in a whole new chapter of what do humans do and how do we understand ourselves and what's our role in the tribe. And I think we're going through that right now. We just can't see it because we're kind of in a reactive phase of trying to hold everything back, like the way that it was. We're trying to kind of hold everything back from moving forward. But if we let go of that, I think we can step into a future that's a better future where we're not proving ourselves by how smart we are, right? Like we're not winning against somebody else because AI is going to have the answers. But we're allowed to be free enough to ask the questions. Like what questions remain when all the answers are available to you? And I think that those are the next economies, is fulfillment. So I really believe in that. That's what I'm working towards. I think that there are things that have to happen for us to shift into that. And I think one of the main things that we have to do is we have to stop fighting each other. Because when we're divided, we lose the collective power of a democracy. Our power is us working together. And when we're infighting, we give over, you know, we give over the 50%, the 51% of what people are actually desiring to the top, to the people who wield power already. I mean, it's not in our best interest to fight with each other.
In my head, existence is a shared experience. You know what I mean? Like that is life, and the experience of living is to interact with other people. So the more you're driving people away, the less you're actually living, life, getting the most out of your, time here.
Yeah. And that's a
So
really good
to
point.
your
And you can
point,
see
yeah.
that in the data of the loneliness epidemic.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Is we're becoming so scared by difference because, I mean, it's normal to feel uncomfortable with difference, but we're becoming afraid of difference. And when we become afraid of difference, then we push away people who are bringing different things into our lives. And then, at first it feels better because you're not in an uncomfortable moment anymore. You're not in an uncomfortable conversation. But then you're kind of stuck in this void. You're not held by community anymore. You're not learning. I have only really learned myself through contrast. You know, when I'm around somebody who's different than me, I understand myself better. When I'm around people who are similar to me, I feel like that's important too, because that's where I feel restored and
Mm.
validated. You know, I have my tribe who thinks like me. And when I've been out in the world for a while and I've been challenging myself in uncomfortable situations, I come back to them and they say, "Oh, Beth, you're great." And I say, "Thank you, thank you." You know, thank you. I'm going to have like a glass of wine and watch Netflix, and then I'm going to get
Right.
strong again. I'm going to go back out into the world. But you can't not do it. You can't stop stretching yourself. You can't stop like endeavoring to know something you don't already know. So I agree
Yeah.
with you, John. I think that that's 100% the point. Our difference is the point of
Right.
us being here.
And the echo chamber is a dangerous place that you don't want
Yeah.
to always find yourself in. But I was also earlier today, I was in a discussion with some coworkers about healthcare and how, they're raising our premiums and all this other nonsense. But it's like, one party moves into power and they start building this program and planting the seeds for it. And then 4 years later, the next party comes and just dismantles the whole thing, says this is all wrong. And where does that leave us? You know?
Yeah. I know my healthcare is just I had Fidelis and I was in the is that what you're dealing with? They were in the Optum network and they just stopped serving. So yeah, there are all of these disruptions to healthcare right now
Yeah.
that
Optum
people
Optum
are.
is owned by United Healthcare, and they're the worst company in the world. So
Yeah,
there
I
you go.
mean, I think that I mean, if you wanted to get political about it, I don't think that you can have health insurance as a for-profit venture. But I don't want to, that's my opinion, and I don't want to
Yeah.
lose anybody by saying that because I think that it's also a conversation that's worth having is like, what do you gain from having a for-profit element in
Yeah.
To your point,
healthcare?
though, I don't think that should not be a political conversation. You know what I mean? Like that goes beyond the bounds of politics.
Right,
It's
like our
about like
humanity of taking care of each
human
other.
rights, though. But there's a lot of things that have been politicized that are not like
Right.
have been made political when they're not. Like
Yeah.
it's a person to person issue. It should be.
Yeah. Something that I really wrestle with now is the way that we don't take care of our weakest. I'm trying to think of a better word than that, but like we don't take care of the people who are most vulnerable in our society.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's um I don't think that it's serving us either. I don't think that we are feeling good about it. I don't think that there's a
Mm-hmm.
reward from not doing it, an emotional reward. And then when I really think about it, there's this I think we get into this place of like resource hoarding. I think that that's what's happening with this wealth consolidation, right? Like the money that's going up when we have so many billionaires. The United States has the most people living in functional poverty. So like, not necessarily like India's probably has more abject poverty, but like America has the most functional poverty and the most billionaires. And I don't like that. Like I don't
Right.
like that if you think about money as a resource to get what you need, we're all participating in this system where you can't spend $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
You have it in your bank account or you have it, somewhere where it's not. You can't. One single person can't possibly use it. And then there are people who can't feed their kids. There are people who are,
Right.
working 3 jobs, and I think that we failed in that part of having a society. I think
Yeah.
we have to shift. I think it's the shift away from like proving or earning and then proving through earning. And it's this kind of like reward cycle that when we see a billionaire, we go, oh, they did it. They proved it the most. And we give them praise, like they become idols to us. And I think that when we make other shifts about what's actually rewarding, is that we can see that that's not the top of the mountain, right? So one of the things that I'm working with, just to give a little, one of the things that I'm working with is through some of the research that I did, I found a piece of information that could be really valuable to people who write AI symptom code. The AI, I don't know the language. I don't know what language they use for that.
Yeah, how they train it.
Yeah, how they train it. It could be really valuable to them. It could solve their problem that they're having right now of like how to humanize AI. And it's data points that I could share with them. And the next steps for that would be you do a pilot program, and if the pilot program goes well, then you license your idea to them, and it becomes like a multi-million dollar, thing. Like you can make millions of dollars off of it. So, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but it's a thing. It's the first thing where I was like, oh, here's an idea that I had that could be, make millions of dollars. And it made me really think about like, what would millions of dollars mean in my life? And honestly, just doing work right now that I find rewarding, I wouldn't want to, I don't need a different house. Like I don't honestly need much different things in my life to be happy. So the concept of $1 million, I find, or multi-million dollars, whatever it is like the concept of it as like a validation point seems nice. Like, oh, look what I did. I'm a success, whatever. But the
Mhm.
actual lifestyle that how my life would change, I'm not really that attracted to. Like, I'm not gonna have a second house
Right.
because I don't want to think about a second house.
It's like form over function. You know what I mean? Like you need what you need to function. You don't need what, the other end of it to show off or brag or feel like whatever. You're
Yeah,
validated
it's
by
an
having your
ego
needs
driven
met.
thing. After a certain
Uh-huh.
point, it just feels like ego. It's not going to make, I know it's not, it won't make me any happier. So what I'm
Mhm.
thinking is if this road goes in that direction, if this road ends up in that, what I would really like to do is if there was like this big influx of money, is to create um like to create a new, what's the word? Like an economy, to create an economy that's built on different values. So if I have like a reliable income stream that has a large amount of money to it, it's like how can I use that money to build the type of world that I want to live in? Not just like give it away to, a charity or something like that, but like can I collect the greatest thinkers in economics and we can come up with a system where it's a cycle, like the money is moving through and it's going down to the people who need it, who are making more of it. Like there's this, I think that when you have an economy that keeps funneling up, you just think, oh, that's the way that it always has to be.
Hmm.
But if there's a big influx of money and people can start playing around with what's a different way that an economy can work, that people can make lives that are really rewarding. Like, do we build housing structures that have common space in the middle so that, people can go out and have lunch there and talk to each other and children can play? And what is the money that it costs to build that housing structure? And how does it disperse to the people that are in it? And then how does it recycle into the, to be self-contained and sustainable? I think we should be thinking about that sort of thing. We shouldn't just, we're in this great moment of give up, but when you give up your agency in creating the future. None of this stuff has to be the way that it is.
I think paradigm shift was the word you were looking for.
Well, did you know that I've changed my LinkedIn profile to something like paradigm architect?
There you go.
I'm like, because I would like, why can't I be a paradigm architect? Do you want to know what I've found so far
Yes.
about the systems that we live in? Okay, so I think that we should touch on this again. We spoke about it last time, but I want to revisit it because we're not living in a storm right now, microphonically.
Right.
Um, all right. So, what does everyone's feed look like? Let's start with that. What is your when you go onto social media? What does your feed look like?
It is dogs,
Okay.
drums, tattoos, and clothes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's nice. Do you spend any time on the news in your feed?
a little bit. Yeah, I watch
Okay.
like Breaking Points.
What do you mean by breaking points?
Breaking Points is like a
The name
YouTube
of the show.
channel.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and what's the energy of it?
It's very like one host is a little more left and one host is a little more right.
Oh, okay. So
And
it
so they
feels
are, and they argue very respectfully, sometimes a little cattily about current events, but it's a good watch.
okay. And how about you, Johnny? What does your feed look like?
I get a lot of music related content, a lot of comedy related content, a fair amount of, and I don't know why this is, but like I feel like the algorithms on both YouTube and TikTok promote like developmentally disabled creators. So for some
Oh,
reason, I get a lot of that. Like there's one guy that makes food and stuff, and like another guy that like tries food. It's not all food related, but I've spoken to a few friends of mine, and they also get that. And then beyond that, I would describe myself as like progressive democratic socialist, not to bring politics into it. So I get a fair amount of things on that end of stuff, but I try my best to curate it and use the like not interested, irrelevant thing on things that I really don't like or need to see.
yeah, that's good. All right. So the platforms, the social media platforms are optimized for engagement. Okay. So engagement is
Mm-hmm.
watching something for a certain amount of time or liking it or commenting on it or sharing it. And the things that in your life you engage with are the things that feel more urgent or they get what you would call dopamine. It gets you it doesn't dopamine doesn't have to be like it can often be triggered by fear, but it can also be triggered by novelty or um like a giddy feeling. So even something where it's like a surprise, if a surprise happens in it, if it has a lot of really quick cuts, if it's a lot
Yeah,
of humor,
jump
especially
scares.
humor if something's like falling down or something like that, like something you don't expect happens, it's going to trigger all of your dopamine centers. So you're going to be lingering on that video for a longer period of time. And when you get primed in the dopamine centers of your brain, and then you go to the next thing, let's say it's news where two people are fighting about whether or not we're handling Gaza right, or what's going on with Trump, or what's going to happen with healthcare, and you already have that fear inside of your body, let's say for healthcare, and they come up and they start fighting about it, is you're already primed to be in that space of urgency, and it's going to surge more and more and more dopamine. So then when you switch off of it and you get to anything that's about repair or hope or something that calms your nervous system, is you don't it doesn't feel urgent enough to stay on because you're just not in that headspace yet. So even though you're going to like all these things and they're going to help re-regulate you, you're going to swipe past them quickly because it's just not meeting you in the chemicals that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So your feed will slowly become filled with the things that bring you quick hits of excitement, whatever those categories are. It can be a lot of different things. But when your brain is flooded with dopamine for too long, it wears out your nervous system. So when you come off of social media, you're going to feel a little fried. You're also going to feel like, "Oh, I never found it." I was looking for something and I never found it. You don't feel satisfied. So you leave your social media, you have a sense of dissatisfaction. You go to try to talk to somebody at work and you're already a little exhausted because your nervous system has sent out all of these stress chemicals and all of these excitement chemicals, and you're just not in a place where you can collaborate, connect, create, repair. All of those processes are happening because of serotonin in your brain. That's your secondary reward pathway. So if you can recognize that what's happening is I'm stuck in a dopamine loop and it's affecting my relationships, it's affecting how I sleep, it's affecting how I'm showing up at work. Maybe I used to like to paint and I don't want to paint anymore because it doesn't feel urgent, but I'm not
Yeah.
getting that same like low grade satisfaction out of life. I don't like hanging out with my kids as much. I don't like cooking. I used to like cooking. All these things is like because you've been in this saturated place of like novelty and urgency and what's that. So when you know that that's what's the loop that's causing it in your social media platform, is that you can override it. And when you see a thing that shows up in your feed and it feels relaxing and it feels like slow engagement, especially if it feels hopeful, inspires you, there's something about it that makes you feel like, oh, I should do something like that. Or this person sees me, like they see an inner me. I feel connected to them. They're speaking language that speaks to an introspective part of myself. If you can dwell on it instead of swiping, the algorithm is going to learn that humans need that too. So it's going to learn that for you, and it's going to send it to your community, and it's going to understand it on a global level, and it's going to send it to people in the world. So what we need right now is just awareness so that we can rebalance our reward centers, so that we're not in just this place of hypervigilance all the time and exhaustion and this sensation of, it's almost like an addiction, like, oh, I'm chasing that first hit, like I'm not going to feel it again, because I could be on for a half an hour and be like, oh no, the next one's going to be it. The next one's going to be the one I'm going to end on, because it's going to feel like, I'm going to get that good laugh, or I'm going to get, the good music, or whatever the thing is. It's never there. It's never going to be there. So that's part of what I'm doing online, is educating like nervous system awareness and algorithm awareness. Because when people have that, they can turn their digital space into something that feels nurturing, like a place where you do feel satisfied, you feel connected to your community. I'm going to tell you a story about what happened with my husband just today as an example, because it made me feel like really validated in this work. So he is not on social media. He's avoided it because he thought that it was really negative. It was like not a space that he enjoyed being. I think that he has kind of like a dopamine, like he knows himself, and he's like, I don't want to mess around with that at all. And I'm doing this work, and every time I've got like I found this out, whatever, I go and I tell him, and I'm telling him all these little facts throughout the day. And he just started a social media account, and he decided, he decided for himself, I'm going to start, creating stuff that I think people should see, some positive stuff. I'm going to put my joys out there, and I'm going to put my inspirational thoughts out there. And so to do that, he just started an Instagram account, and it starts from nothing. The algorithm doesn't know him at all. And he's searching out positive content because he's looking for inspiration for things that he's going to make. And he also wants to share it. He wants to that'll be part of his presence online. So he's searching out that stuff, and he's only liking it. He's only sharing positive stuff because this is his MO going in. He has been in such a good mood for the last 2 weeks. He comes out of the office and he's whistling. That's his tell that he's, had a good day. He's patient with the kids. He's patient with me. He's excited. He's got 3 or 4 business ideas that he wants to work on, all in the space of non-reactivity. He came to me, and he's not, Mike, right? He's not like a silly guy, And he came to me and he said, within the first 3 days, I thought, this is amazing. Social media is amazing. He's like, look at what everyone's doing, because what his feed filled with was people making change in the world, people creating beautiful things. He was hopeful about humanity, in this dark time where you can look at anything that you look at becomes your reality. This is a real challenge for me doing this work, because I have to talk to people who are living in a different world than I am. Your world has dogs and music, and your world has special needs people cooking and other things.
Yeah.
But my world is, because of this work that I'm doing, my social media world is a utopia. I'm in there, and I feel like, why am I even doing this work? Everything's solved.
Yeah.
So when I have to I can't come from where I am to talk to you. I have to ask you first, where are you? What are you seeing? Right? So if you don't know, I have no idea what my neighbors are seeing. I have no idea what my sister-in-law, my brother-in-law are seeing. Their world is completely different than my world. So the only thing that I can do is just tell people, here's here's why you don't feel good at the end of watching social media. This is the science behind it. This is the neuroscience behind it. You can override it now that you know. And find the things that do make you feel a specific type of good, a relaxed good, like an unhurried good, an inspired and a connected good. Because that's different than the like novelty good or like the aggressive laughs, like they're different things. And lean into that as much as you possibly can because it's going to change the way you experience the entire world. Like it's going to change how you feel when you get off of your screens. It's going to and John, you're following me on social media, yeah? Like on my account.
Is that your way
So
of saying Beto isn't? All right.
I don't know
I
what
don't have
Vito
a
is, but
I
are
don't have a
you?
personal account anymore. No,
What's that?
I don't have a personal account anymore.
Yeah, so I never know if you are. I don't, you guys
Okay.
share the Lindenhurst podcast, I'm guessing, account. So maybe it's
Yes.
Vito sometimes, maybe it's you sometimes. But what I think also is happening is that the more you like the things, so up in my stories, I'm sharing other creators' things that I think are really, it makes me feel good. It's my personal type of serotonin. If you're liking those, it's changing your feed, I assume. I also think that by me liking them in my feed, every time I hit a like button, sometimes it's coming into your feed and you'll see on the bottom of it, Beth Gismervik liked this, or
Yeah.
this real good life
Yes.
liked it, or whatever. So it's changing the environment that you're in. So what we interact with isn't just changing our nervous systems, it's changing everyone we care about is seeing things that make us feel good. And then it's changing
So
how they feel.
I have a I have a question about what you were saying with your husband, Mike.
Yeah, yeah.
He was not on social media at all before then.
He had set up an account, I think, when Instagram started,
Right.
and he didn't do anything. So you might find him, if somebody's fact checking this, you might find an account for him. But
Right.
no, he didn't. He's okay. So he works really perfectly in both of the categories that I'm working on because he's a total avoidant. He's
Hmm.
like, I'm not going to have conversations about anything that I find that people could disagree with that I care about. I'm not going to do
Hmm.
that. I'm not going to go onto social media and, have a flood of whatever negative soup is happening that day. I'm going to maintain my mental health by being as insular as possible. I'm going to keep my world
Right.
really small to my wife, my kids, all this kind of stuff. And I think that that's fair. I think that that's a fair way for people to survive, especially in this moment.
For
But what I
sure.
want and is the next stage for humanity is for people to feel safe enough to share their thing that they bring to the world. Like each person, here's
Yeah.
something else I found out in this research. Every single person's thought pattern is as unique as their fingerprint.
Right.
We kind of think that everybody thinks the same, but the way that thoughts move through your brain, the neurons that connect to different neurons, the order that the different parts of your brain light up is only to you. Like that's it. And each person on this planet could be sharing their interpretation of information. And how much can we learn if we made everyone feel safe enough to do that?
I guess my question was more like you're saying his mood got better when he was on Instagram,
Yeah,
after a couple of days of doing that. Do
yeah,
you think it was filling a void he didn't know needed to be filled?
yes,
Or, Okay.
yes, I do. Because I think and we're speaking to the same thing, which is this insular thing of cutting off,
Yeah.
right? You
Hmm.
shrivel a little bit because we're built to share. We're built to connect. We have a great desire
Yeah.
to be understood. And if you don't do that, if you're not producing something that's your own and you're not receiving things that are beautiful from other people, you're not vibrating at the right frequency. You're just kind of like
Right.
surviving. So 100% I saw him step into like, oh, I'm in this world, you know? And If
Mhm.
he wasn't as careful with his curation of his feed, it could have been the complete opposite. He could have doubled down on the
Yeah.
way that he protects himself from the scary
Mhm.
things of the world, you know? So it really
It's
does.
like
Your social media habits map the way that you think you can, your nervous system, how you
right.
think you can show up.
It's like if you get a text message from someone you don't know that well, if you read it as if it's an asshole talking to you, you're going to reply like it's an asshole because there's
Yes.
no tone in text, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's another thing too, is like sometimes
It's
people write something,
yeah.
comments on my posts, and there'll be certain topics where I'm like, we can't discuss this in a comment section. Like this is
Right.
fake.
Yeah.
This is someone's fake.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to get to it in a reply.
Right.
Like this isn't the forum for that sort of conversation.
Hmm.
And I do want to know. I do want to know what people's faith means to them. I want to. That inspires me when somebody. I think of faith as reaching for good. I think that's why most people are attracted to religion because they're trying to find a language to show up that makes them feel safe enough to show up, and it gives them something good to reach for because it's really hard to figure out what's good in the world, you know? And so here's the thing, like after Charlie Kirk was shot, I know I bring this up a lot, but it's something that really resound or it landed for me, a certain concept. But somebody that I knew posted a picture of Charlie Kirk, an American flag, and a crucifix all superimposed together in like one picture. And my initial emotional response was fear. Like it felt aggressive. And then I was
Yeah.
like, why does this feel aggressive to me? These are just three shapes. I don't know
Yeah.
Yeah.
what religion means to you. I don't know what America means to you, and I don't know what Charlie Kirk meant to you. You know, like I feel aggressed upon, but I don't know anything about you. And what we need to do right now is to stop thinking that our fear reflex is telling us something helpful, right? Like we
Mhm.
have to
Yeah.
Absolutely.
override that fear reflex to learn about each other. I would like to know what that meant when she posted it. Like, what did you feel? What were
Uh-huh.
you feeling? And I can
Hmm.
tell you're scared. And what were you scared about?
Yeah.
Because I'm scared. We're in the same place and we're
Yeah.
using different language to. Okay, if I were to really like take my best guess, it would be that my read on it when I'm being empathetic through my empathetic view and not my fear reflex view is that she was saying, I I belong in America too, and religion belongs in America too, and I need religion like that. If I were to try to really step into that, somebody that who
Yeah.
spoke
Yeah.
about her religion and spoke in the language that she speaks in
Hmm.
was killed in America, right? What is that that makes you feel like you don't belong? I think all of us really like at the heart of all of this fear is this fear of not belonging here,
Hmm.
of our thing that we bring. So why are we so obsessed with being right? Why are we so afraid of somebody saying something different than us? Because if somebody says something different than us and they're right, then we're wrong. And if we're wrong,
Yeah.
maybe we don't belong. So the paradigm that has to shift is not is moving away from right and wrong and moving into all of the perspectives are important. All of them are good. We have to respect them and be curious enough. Like this is a gift to us. See different perspective as a gift. And the things that I'm designing right now, all of these different structures, are to help people feel safe enough to receive that gift because it's not natural. It's not natural when you're afraid to say, "Tell me about you." That's not
Yeah.
your evolved response, you know? Like your evolved response is like,
Yeah.
"No, you should leave the tribe. I belong here." This is my place. This is my America, not your America, right? So how can we override that impulse to come together to build this next future that is still unwritten?
And so a lot of people in our world like are of the mindset that if you're not outraged, you're not paying attention.
Right.
So they kind of just immerse themselves in their politics and all this
Yeah.
tragedy, just like because they feel like they have to keep this righteous anger up. So what do you say to somebody like that?
Well, first, I want to like give them a hug, right?
Yeah,
First, I want to give them a hug, and I've been that person. 100% I've been. I was at the Women's March. Like I was checking. I was laying in my bed, Googling climate change over and over and over again. Like I lived
yeah,
that threat, that sensation of threat, the powerlessness of things being out of control and terrible. Like I remember Aleppo. Do you remember Aleppo and all the kids and then the white helmet people?
sure,
Like
yeah,
that's when
Mhm.
I was like I was, yes, like, and then it's this sense of what can I do? What can I do? And you can't do anything. There's nothing to do.
Right.
You're in your house. You can't go to Aleppo. You can't save that kid. You can't stop climate change.
yeah.
You can't, like, that's step one.
All you have is your
What's
Instagram and your
that?
Twitter.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All you have is your Instagram
Yeah,
and
it's
your
just you in
Twitter,
the
and
dark with the blue
you could
glow on
post
your
all day.
face,
Yeah,
shaking in your bed.
yeah,
And you don't come up with solutions when you're doing that. You just don't. So there was a moment where I realized I had to radically accept the moment that we're in. This is it, right? This is what's happening. And a lot of the things that are happening, let's say you don't agree with what Trump's doing, those decisions were made years ago, right? He was elected a year ago. Like this that ship has left the dock, like you're not going to stop that from happening. So what you have to do is look forward. What can I build from here? That's the shift. It's not what can I stop that's happening right now, because that does nothing. All it does is stress you out because you can't stop anything that's happening. What you have to do is say, what's the future that I can build from this point? And it's not gonna happen maybe today, but what's the future that I'm going to be reaching for? And that was the shift that happened for me that made me realize, okay, I have to stop watching the news. Because when I know that feeling when I watch the news on my phone and it feels powerless. I couldn't live there anymore. So stopped watching the news, stopped looking at negative stuff, and first like detox because you're still going to be high vibration, it's stressed out energy, fear state. And
yeah.
in that detox time, find joy in the physical world however you can. Like walk in the grass with no shoes on, have a really good cup of coffee, hold a hug longer. You're going to have to return to your body because you've been out of your body for a really long time, and you're going to have to come back to the present and enter your life again. And then when you've entered your life, so a trick that helped me at that point was picture yourself at a crossroads with lots of roads coming off of you in lots of different directions. And the roads are everything you can do from this moment. And maybe it's take a shower, have a snack, send an
Yeah.
email. If it has to be that granular just to get you to the next step of getting in touch with, people are so reactive that they've lost touch of what do I want if it's not a reaction? What can what am I reaching for if it's not to fight somebody? So get into the habit of doing that. Like you got to get inward. You need to reconnect with the thing inside of you that wants something. And then eventually, maybe those roads are something like start a business, maybe have a prayer vigil. Maybe it's, something that's going to feel accomplished, like it's accomplishing something. I have a friend who just made the switch. and she was doing all of the like resist, 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 and she had had enough. And just in the last 2 weeks, she started volunteering at a food pantry. And she says, I love it. She goes, I love it. I feel like it's like a valve has opened. Because when you're resisting, you're not letting energy flow through you. You're king toes. You have to find something that's productive, that's the thing that's the future you want. So you have to just be thinking, I have a thing inside of me that wants something. How's the beautiful way to do it? Like I was thinking about, all these people who are um, stressed about Gaza. I 100% get stressed about Gaza. 100%. I understand that it's terrible to watch, but feeding yourself this outrage, making yourself angry enough to hate someone is feeding the outrage cycle. It's not breaking the outrage cycle. Like the Middle East is a perfect example of an outrage cycle that has just continued for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's like, how do you break it? I'll do the opposite of what's happening in Gaza. I will find people who need food and I will give it to them. I will come together in peace, like whatever that thing is, like make more of the other thing. That's really the only way that you're going to move out of that space. Is make more of the light. When you're outraged, you're feeding outrage in all directions.
Yeah.
Does that
A
make
lot
sense?
of what you're saying,
What's
yeah,
that?
totally makes sense. A
Yeah.
lot of what you're saying reminds me of like tenets of 12-step programs, if you're
Mm,
familiar with that at all. Because really the answer is the serenity prayer. Like realize the things you can and can't control and know the wisdom to know the difference. And
yeah.
all of this is stuff you can't actually control, but the things you can control, like the algorithm or whatever, you
Yeah.
can do your part with there and like give yourself up to a higher power, like drop your ego and realize, you know what I mean? Your purpose is not this, whether it be looking for substance
Mhm.
or, you know what I mean, fighting what you think you're fighting. It is possible to be against something and not need to be like an aggravated vocal, critic of it.
Yeah.
You can fight things silently.
I feel like the way that I fight intolerance is by being as tolerant as possible,
Right.
right? The
Kill
way
them with
that I
kindness.
fight, like if I yell at somebody, be more tolerant.
Yeah.
I'm not I'm,
It's not going to work.
but if
Right.
I fully tolerate who they are, however they're showing up, not only
Yeah.
not only do I feel good that I've been authentic to myself, but they
Yeah.
see a different thing and the
Hmm.
lesson gets imprinted in them. That's what
Right.
tolerance looks like. I've given the lesson without shouting it down their throat. Like there's
Right.
people make a change inside themselves when they see it in someone else. They don't make a change inside themselves when they're told to,
Right.
right? So if we don't like how somebody else is acting, be the opposite.
Uh-huh.
And that's totally true about the 12 step. I mean, 12 step is a wise program, right? And I think that, yeah,
You should adapt a 12-step program for, changing the algorithm or something like that.
I am.
Good branding. Yeah.
Okay.
I am. So that's flip the
Yeah.
feed. Flip the feed is the awareness and impact, like algorithm awareness, nervous system awareness arm of this. And the way that the
Hmm.
word is going to get out is just like this, is through podcasts and people having conversations because right now what I'm doing is nuggets in a minute and a half, right? Like people are going to kind of get parts of it, but that's not really how awareness works. So long form articles,
Hmm.
interviews, stuff like that. Awareness starts to spread of how to regulate your nervous system, how to choose things that are going to make you happy, algorithm, literacy, all that kind of stuff. And then once awareness reaches a critical point, what I see happening is an influencer led activation, a coordinated campaign where within 24 to 72 hours, like-minded influencers. So like there are positive people out there that you follow or whatever. organize,
For sure.
right? And organize their followers to push positive content for 10 days. If enough people push positive content for 10 days, it fully rewrites the algorithm for everybody, even the people who aren't doing it. So there's a awareness part, and then there's an activation part, and those are the two things that have to happen. And then the other part is the conversation zone. So you have to know how to have these conversations in real life. When you're talking to somebody who you disagree with, you need to be able to map the terrain and know what's happening. What are the goals? What are the boundaries? What's the importance of difference? And I have a talk at the Harbor Fields Public Library on December 2nd. It's going to be my first introduction of this idea. Just like this, there's going to be a community conversation at the end of it. There's going to be a little packet for tools, conversation tools that people take with them. And what I'm hoping to happen there is that maybe other libraries pick it up. We start doing it in different communities around, and you're just you're starting a repair loop instead of an outrage loop. And it happens with individuals. Each individual who changes the way that they respond to fear, it imprints in their communities and the people around them and in their families. And then those people imprint onto other people. So it just takes a couple of people to start breaking the outrage cycles, to start changing the world. So, that would also be great if it could be in, corporate culture, if it could be in schools. I mean, everywhere, this could be something that's scalable, that people can use to identify the purpose of disagreement and understand how to have these conversations, the goals in them. Those are the two things. And then the last part is this AI piece that I was telling you about. So when I started to do all of this work in, serotonin versus dopamine regulation on social media, something that I found was that my content, which is like the most serotonin, the most serotonin-y of serotones you can be. I'm speaking slowly. I am, there's no things happening behind me. There's no words coming in. I'm talking about introspective issues. I'm talking longer probably than most people. Is that content, when I was looking at my, what are the things at the end of it? The analytics. When I was looking at my analytics, they were still overperforming compared in the algorithm to like standard dopamine posts, like the median. So if you have a bell curve, like the 50%. Yeah, it's not going to go viral. People aren't like, whoa, but people are staying and they're watching, and that's them staying and watching long enough was enough to work within the algorithm system as it is written, to be pushing it out, to be pushing it out to broader audience. And I put these models, not anyone's name who's watching me, but it's a model, like a watching model. Like, how long are people watching it? How are they engaging with it? It looks like a bar chart or, a graph or something like that. And I put these models into AI systems. And AI said that based on the viewer behavior of you guys who are watching my stuff, is that could be taken to someone like Google, and they can look at that viewer behavior and they can set a secondary metrics for understanding engagement. So the first metrics is activation, liking something, commenting on something. That's what's setting these like outrage loops, these dopamine loops that people aren't breaking from. But if we can set a serotonin metrics, so they're optimizing long watches. They're optimizing when people come back, repeat watches. People don't watch outrageous stuff repeatedly. They watch something that taught them something repeatedly. Something that made them feel safe, something that was, connective. They'll come back to it a couple of times. So when you have enough data on how people are interacting with serotonin content, you can create loops that feed learning. So what does that look like? It means a comment on a post that shows that somebody absorbed a lesson goes to the top, instead of a comment that says, clown, Trump, my USA, whatever the thing is, like, it's surfacing people learning instead of surfacing people reacting. And when you start doing that, and you can hit bigger audience with it, is that you don't, as the user, have to be as consciously overriding your own impulses. It's just serving you a balance. So those are like really the three places where intervention is necessary: in conversations, and users, like how users understand what they're doing. And then there's a code element to it from the way that people write the AI systems. Is that all? I know that it's a lot.
Yeah.
My question to you is, if you're I'm lagging behind you guys, I've noticed the entire time. But my question would then be, if you
You're
asking
good.
AI that and AI spitting that back out, the information
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
gaining,
yeah.
doesn't that mean they own that and they could share that information, before
Right,
you get a
right.
chance
No,
to
they
do?
can't. No. So the way
Why
that,
why
so if I'm
can't they?
working with ChatGPT, my
Mm,
conversation with ChatGPT. So if I'm working with the social
mm,
media algorithms learn, and so they're a learning model as well. They have AI in them.
mm.
The social media learns and then dispenses to the group. So it has like a central learning center that affects
Gotcha.
everyone. But something like a language model, like ChatGPT or Claude or something like that,
Gotcha.
it has its central learning system is not affected by user behavior. So if I'm in there asking questions, all the information stays in our conversation. It doesn't go into
Gotcha.
a central database. So it doesn't,
Okay.
there's nothing, no question that I ask it all the time. I'm like, wow, did I teach you something? And it's like, well, I
Yeah.
don't really learn, but yeah, like that was new
Yeah.
information. And then I'll be like, are you going
Ask
to give it to other people? Like I want and I'm saying it like, I want you to give it to other people. This is good. This is healthy.
mm,
And they're like, no, I can't do that. It doesn't,
gotcha.
it's a closed loop between me and you.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's all important to know too, because we have so many questions with all of this new technology, and a lot of people are really scared of AI. That makes total sense. I would say think of AI as like an amplifier, right? So if you bring great things to AI, great like AI is going to make it the whole big. I couldn't do any of the work that I'm doing. I couldn't do any of this research without AI. Like it would just be
Mhm.
me in my house being like, everybody be nice to each other, like it just wouldn't be, it wouldn't be scalable the same way. So AI in a way is a great, it gives you the resources that CEOs have, but at your house. So
Gotcha.
if you, a friend of mine wanted to start this thing at her house where like people came over and they shared potluck. She opened her house to the public. People came bring potluck food. And, if somebody's good at fixing computers, they bring their skill set. It's just, you wanted to make it like a community space where everybody brought what they were good at and doors were open. And she was like, I don't know how to do it. I just keep hitting these walls. And I was like, here's what you do. Go to ChatGPT. Enter all of your desires. I want to do it. This is why. I want to have this outlet. This is my emotional reason for wanting to do it. Here are my technical challenges. Can I turn this into something that sustains me and my family? Can I eventually make partnerships with nonprofits or something like that where I'm making money for it? This can be my job. And I was like, just do it. And I moved on. I had made lunch or whatever. And she wrote back to me like 2 hours later. She's like, holy shit, it wrote a floor plan. Like it made a floor plan for me. And that's what it does is it's like the best, at least at this, AI, you always have to have guardrails on it. And that's part of what I think that these code adaptations are going to be really good at. But it's like having the best assistant in the world is what it feels like. Type in, oh, don't be afraid to enter your hopes and dreams. Don't be afraid to enter, this is what I want to do as a side hustle. This is my business that I want to make. Or even like, what's going on in my relationship? My husband, never seems to understand what I'm saying. Whatever the thing is, it really is. At this point, it's similar to like how my husband was shielding himself off from social media because he was scared of it. But once he realized that if he he can control it and make it a positive thing for connection, that it made his life better. Right now, in its current form, that's what I feel like ChatGPT is, let's say, or Claude or something. It's like, bring your hopes to it. And what do you have to lose? You guys getting tired? It's a little late.
I've been up early, so that's my end of it. I did want to bring up, this has nothing to do with any of what you said, but your husband was in the journalism class that I took that I met Vito in. So in my first day in high school, I met both Vito and your husband. And they also taught
Look at
desktop
that.
design there. So he learned Adobe PageMaker with us. And if he is a graphic artist, he may have started learning it with us.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if he
Yeah,
identifies as a graphic artist. He is in media. He told me to
gotcha.
tell. So we're both in our like midlife adjustment moment, like
Sure.
okay, all the things that we were doing before, not sure how much I want to keep
That's a
doing
very
it.
nice way to put
Yeah.
it.
Um, and he told me today, he's like, because he doesn't like to share anything with me, until he's figured it out on his own. Because I'm a little bit of a strong personality, I have a lot of opinions, so he likes to kind of like keep it to himself for a while. And today he's like, you can tell people it's a media company, and I was like, okay. So he's doing a media company. He's making a media
Gotcha.
company, and it's all the thread through it is it's all positive content. And I mean, it's been transformational. I mean, he's just it's beautiful. You get this idea in your head, and you're like, this should work, and then you see
Mhm.
it happen in another person, and it's amazing. It really makes me think that like everybody has this thing in them that can wake up, and can feel safe showing up. And imagine what world we'll have if we can do that. If we can just cross that threshold, I think it's possible.
So that all culminates under this
Yes,
real good life. That's the banner that you're doing all this
yes. That's
under.
the both the umbrella brand, and right now it's working as my like de facto website. So the Instagram account is where
Mhm.
all of the information will become is accessible. You can see in my links, conversation zone stuff and links to my YouTube account and stuff like that. So if you want to follow along, which I recommend, if you want to reset your recommended content, if you want to start with if you want to have the mic experience and you want to reset your recommended content and then only find stuff that makes you feel like inspired and
Yeah.
hopeful and all that kind of stuff, it's totally worth doing. Do that and then come follow me at This Real Good Life, and I'll be serving up. If it's hard for you to find stuff, you're like, I don't know where all of this good stuff is. I'm serving up in my stories every day. Click through, and then your feed will start to populate with positive stuff. At that point, you can curate on your own what you like it, comment, watch it. I mean, you don't even, honestly, I think the comment thing's a little bit, I don't think people are going to do it, because you don't, you don't see it like a video, a contemplative video and think I should comment on this, but just watch it for a long time and like it. Share it. If you share it in your stories, that registers as you're interested in it. Also, you're sending it to your community. So follow along at This Real Good Life. We're building we're building a community there too where it feels less weird to be hopeful. It feels good to be hopeful. I think that that's a really important part of it is you can't be the only one out there saying we should love each other. You need to have like your network of people who are doing it with you. Um, so I'm also on TikTok and YouTube, so you can follow there. Same name, that This Real Good Life, REAL, not REEL, real, like genuine. This Real Good
That's the
Life.
fishing one. Yeah.
What's that?
That's the fishing part of the brand.
Yeah, that's our fishing arm.
Uh-huh.
That's the
Yeah.
umbrella brand, and it's the community. And then from the community are the initiatives. Flip the feed and the conversation zone. Flip the feed is about how we interact on the algorithm, like in our digital spaces. And then the conversation zone is the how we talk to each other IRL in real life. And right now it's a community meeting and a talk, that's hopefully going to spread worldwide.
Just wrapping up, bringing it back to our
Yeah.
hometown and growing up here. What would you like to see like in observing people's interactions growing up here before social media and smartphones and all that, like what would you like to see people default back to that we kind of lost in all this?
That's a good question. It has two sides, my answers, as always. But the first thing I would
Sure.
say is set timelines for when you're going to be on digital, like time of your day that you're going to be on a device, for yourself and for kids. Is like maybe it's, after school, like my son gets a half hour video game time and then he's got to fill up the day with boring stuff with his family. Um, do it for yourself too. Put your phone. I have a drawer in my kitchen that I put my phone in so I don't see it on the counter. I don't like
Yeah.
devices out. You have to make sure that when you're in your real life, that you're in your real life. So set your times for when you're doing that. So my son is having he's in middle school now, both of my kids, but I'm more aware of it with my son because he's at a specific age. He's having a very 1995 childhood. There's a lot of play dates and ping pong and wiffle ball and the digital part of it is not it looks he even has a boombox in his bedroom that he plays Mike's old CDs on. Like it feels very old
Awesome.
school.
Yeah.
It's all pizza and ice cream and all of the things. And, the dramas too, right? We can't shield our kids from dramas. There are dramas no matter what. Um, so that's one part of it is just like set your times, schedule when you're going to be on devices. And then when you're not on them, don't see them, don't have them out, put them away. And then the other part is don't be afraid of technology because it can be a great source of inspiration and motivation, and it can be a great resource for building. It's really just you have to set your mindset before you're going into it. You can't just assume that it's in control and it's going to give you what you need, right? So the awareness of how you use your technology is going to shape whether it makes you feel run down and hollow and disconnected from the world or inspired, connected. Like Mike was telling me, I'm feeling this too. When we go to bed at night, we're like, okay, I can't wait to like work on that thing tomorrow. You wake up in the morning, you're like, all right, I've got 5 ideas. I've got, 7 ideas. It's like, that's all because we are the type of content that we're interacting with and the way we're leveraging it to do things we care about is ideal. Like we've just figured out the tricks that you fall into and we avoid them. If you can do that, it's the phone is a great invention. All of these things are humans' desire to connect to each other and to create. That's why we create all of these things. It's this human desire to connect to other human beings and put more of ourselves out there. And we shouldn't shy away from that. We just need to know how to do it in a way that feels rewarding, like we're actually doing the thing that it was made to do. It's just awareness and a couple of other things too.
Yeah, it's a good point because like all of our growing up, time management was very important and everyone was like trying their best to compartmentalize all their different activities and put them in the right time frame in the right place. But it seems like the internet just infiltrated
Mm.
everything, every aspect of our lives because it's in our hands now and we're like tethered to it.
Yeah, but that's also
So,
that dopamine thing because when the dopamine thing makes you feel like you're always in search, so you can't put the phone down because you haven't found it. That's that chemical. So if you're like when I'm interacting with my phone now, I look at a couple of serotonin things and I'm done. I feel good. I can put it down and I don't feel that same like itch to find it,
yeah.
So I 100% agree with you, but I think that there's also just a biochemical part of it that it's not just the phone. Like the phone has not just infiltrated every part of our life. It's the reward centers in our brain that are interacting with the way that activation is being read by the phone. So it's those two things that are happening that are making it feel like, oh, where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Like I can't go to the
Yeah.
bathroom without it. I have to like that's the problem. That's problematic. So it's carving out the space that you're going for a hike. You're, doing your real life stuff. Make that most of your day, make that 70% of
Yeah.
your day. And if it's a weekend, I know that if you're working, you have to look at a device. But then for the 30%, make sure you're not entering addictive cycle, by what you're watching. And the news ones are the worst. I mean, if I open up my phone,
Yeah.
it says three things. I was like, there are microplastics in your brain. Your dryer is probably giving you cancer. There's, like it's hitting all of
Yep.
those fear, 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 fear. And then you go, oh, I don't want to feel fear anymore. Let me get a different sensation. And you think it's a different sensation because it's like a dog on a skateboard, but it's the same chemical. Like it's that novelty is in that same reward center. So you're still staying in it. Your body isn't, it's not regulating.
Give me the dog on the skateboard.
Dog and skateboard is shorthand for me. I use it all the time
Yeah.
whenever
I
something
get it.
weird happens.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of dogs, that's going to bring us to our final question. If you could describe Lindenhurst to somebody who's never been here, what would you tell them? And what advice would you give them to live a better life here in Lindenhurst?
A better life. Well, what's a life in Lindenhurst like these days?
Not too different than it ever
There's a
was.
lot of bars
I
now.
don't know
There's a
Return
lot of
of
what?
bars.
A lot more
Bars
bars.
and breweries and microbreweries.
the downtown is much more,
Beery.
much more happening.
More beery.
Yeah.
Okay, so first I'm going to describe Lindenhurst to someone who's never been there before. Okay, first I would say an elevated train runs right down the middle of. I think that's important. Maybe just because I grew up off Hoffman, but like that for me feels like part of it. This concrete monolith, like towering over, runs right down the middle, and then it's I'm trying to say things. I'm trying to not bring like class language into it, but I think that is a part of the Lindenhurst story. It's like working people. It's working people and people's, somebody's uncle's always sleeping on your couch, and like there's like that is kind of the tone of it, is this kind of like scrappy but like connected and supportive. Like it's brassy, like there's all of that happening, and everybody's real close to each other. The houses are really close to each other, and I think it's a great American neighborhood, but it's a very specific type of America. It's got green spaces. I think that we do like our green spaces. Like everybody's got stories at Fireman's Park. Everybody's got stories, in the creek or Kings Hill. I don't know if you called it that, but everybody had a creek behind their elementary school that they kind of messed around in.
Creek or a sump. Yeah.
Was it a sump?
Yeah.
Yeah, where you would like jump from one side of the bank to the other, and then you sometimes like land on a soft spot and disappear up to your knee.
Uh-huh.
Like wet spots and and older teenagers doing something that you shouldn't go near. And
Right.
like there's a freedom in Lindenhurst, that you don't find everywhere, like a fearlessness, a live for today quality. Yeah, I guess that's how I would describe Lindenhurst, but mostly the train.
There you go.
And then what was the second part? How would I say have a better life in Lindenhurst?
Yeah, or anywhere. I mean, obviously, this is your life's
Yeah, this
work
is
now,
I'm telling everybody how to have a better
let-
life. I've just done it for an
yeah,
hour and a half. I guess I would.
come to your
Yeah,
seminar.
I guess for a better life, my advice would be, stop trying to think that life is something you're going to get to if you work hard enough, or if you do something, or the next president you like, or something like that. Stop thinking that life happens, years from now after a certain thing that you get through. It's like be as aware of being in your body as you possibly can, because that's really the biggest struggle of modern life, is that we think we're living in a story, but we're only focusing on the future part of the story. So I think that that's the key to happiness, is like let go of how the story ends and stop thinking that like that's where we are right now. We're not there.
Well, thank you again for joining us. And this is a much cleaner sounding episode, so I think this will be good for
Oh, I hope
release.
so. You never know. If we have to do this again, I will.
Third time's the charm.
Long live the bench.